Hey everyone, and welcome back to a new video. Today I'm going to be showing you how to paint fall florals. So let's do it! Okay, so to start, I'm just going to go through my materials. I have a big piece of Arches watercolor paper. I have my Winsor Cotman watercolors, my Princeton snap brush in a size 12, and my water and my paper towel, and I'm ready to go. Okay, so we're going to be painting some fall florals today. And I'm going to be going over color mixing and how to get a lot of these colors for this color palette that I've, decided to do. So the first one that we're going to do is kind of almost like a peony flower, like a closed bud peony in this dark kind of burgundy, purpley red color. So I already have a bit here, but I'm going to show you how I mixed it. So I took some dioxazine purple. Nice. And this one's going to be pretty like dark and saturated, this one. Wash off my brush a little. And you're probably going to see me as I'm mixing, dipping colors into one another. Like I've been dipping the purple into my red. And I've gotten some comments of people saying, isn't that bad? Well, I mean, it's not a great habit, but the thing is with watercolor, like you can just like add water to it and it will wipe away. It's not that big of a deal, but I mean, like if you look at my orange, it has a bit of green on it. I can just kind of move my brush around with my water and it will disappear. So just in case anyone wants to comment on that, because you might see me doing that a lot here. So I have this dioxazine purple and cadmium red deep. And then I'm also gonna add some Hooker's green dark to this mix. So Hooker's green dark is a complementary color to the red, right? Green and red, they're contrasting colors. So when you add a contrasting color, it kind of dulls down or like mutes the color in it. So it's not as bright, which is kind of what I'm going for with these pieces, just because I find fall florals very nice and like muted kind of colors, and I really like them. So that's what I'm kind of going for. So you might see a lot of that. So the first thing we're going to do is kind of like a closed peony. So you're just going to do a C curve here, and you want your brush nice and saturated, and then you're just going to close that petal like that. Okay, and then you are going to do another curve like that, and kind of close it, but leaving a bit of white space in there. Okay, and remember, don't be too rigid with it. You want them to be loose, have fun with it. And you're just gonna do some kind of lines up here. You can add more curves around like that. But for this one, I wanted it nice and dark, because usually I do a light wash and then I go back in with darker colors, but this time I wanted a really nice dark saturated purple. And if I had to do this again, I'd probably leave a bit more white space, but it's all good. So if you can leave a bit more white space around here, I would suggest for next time. But I can't get it right all the time. Okay, and now I'm gonna go in with the green, and I want the green to kind of have the same idea, that muted color. So the opposite to green is red, but I want it more of an olive green. So I'm gonna take my sap green here, and to get that kind of burnty olive green, you're gonna add cadmium orange. And I really like the way this looks, especially with that purple. So cadmium orange and sap green. Like that. And then you're just gonna touch the bottom slightly. It can run in. You're just gonna do some leaves. I love the way the leaves look when they bleed with that purple. You can do a stem if you want. You can do little, I don't even know what this flower is, to be honest. It's kind of like a peony shape. But yeah, so there you go. And that will be a nice little filler. Again, like I said, if you can, try and get a little bit more white space in there. I feel like I went too heavy on it. But yeah, so there's your first flower. Okay, so the next flower we're gonna do is kind of like a rose or a, was it ranunculus? But it's gonna be two-tone. So I'm gonna take some cadmium yellow right here and a bit of yellow ochre, and I'm just gonna do a light wash, so we'll make sure it's in frame, of kind of like that rose shape. So you're just doing the little curves. I might actually use a bit more yellow ochre for this. And then you're gonna take off some of that paint so it's really nice and light, and just do some bigger C curves around, like that. Then you're gonna take your cadmium red. So that's cadmium red deep, this is cadmium red, it's a bit more of an orange. And you're just going to go around that edge to make it like a two-tone flower. I love these two colors together. Just screams fall to me. I might go back in with some yellow ochre. Add a bit in there too. Like that. There you go. And then you can add some of those green leaves that you made from before if you like. Hold on. That. That. Okay, so there's your kind of like rose ranunculus kind of feel to that flower. And you can go darker around the edges too if you want with that red. Really make it stand out. Like that. Okay, our next flower is going to be kind of like this dusty rose. Is it, I don't know if it's pronounced Dahlia or Dahlia. Dahlia? Dahlia? I don't know. Anyway, so I'm just mixing whatever I had in here, which was that orange and yellow mix. I'm going to take some permanent rose. And already it's kind of like a peachy color. Then I'm going to dull it down with a bit of Hooker's Green Dark. Now, I don't know if you could tell what that did to it, but it kind of just, again, mutes that pink. So it's more of like a dusty rose color. Now you can make this into a rose or whatever you want. I'm gonna do kind of like a, I'll just show you. Make sure it's in frame. That's like one of my worst fears, is that I paint everything and it turns out well, and then the whole time I realize it wasn't in frame. Okay, so now you're just gonna do kind of these, like, use the tip of your brush and go around and make like loops like that. And then you can just go in with your brush towards the middle a bit more. But as you go further out, just make them thinner, those lines, if that makes sense. So a light wash of this. Then you can add a bit more petals by pressing down on the outer side. I think the trick with this one is just trying to get that white space in there, which can be really difficult. And then I'm going to see if I can get a bit of darkness like that. Like that. Okay, kind of simple, but also a little complicated. There we go. So there's that flower. And now we're gonna do the same kind of thing as this. We're just gonna change up the color a bit. So maybe more of a ranunculus vibe to it, where the curves are a little bit tighter. So I just added more red to this. So it's the same color as that, just adding more red. And you're just gonna do your little curves, but make those, instead of like here how we made them thicker lines, you're just gonna do thinner all the way around. And then once you get kind of to the outer bits, you can do a little thicker like this. And that's more of like a, I don't know, burgundy kind of ranunculus, and then go back in, make it nice and saturated, especially in the middle. Maybe just the edges. Like that. Okay, so now we're gonna do some kind of like light buds that haven't actually bloomed yet. So I'm gonna take my yellow, whatever yellow I have in here, some yellow ochre. There's a bit of green in there, it's all good. And I'm just gonna do kind of like a teardrop shape. Like that. Do one to this side. And then I'm gonna get more green. And this one has barely bloomed, okay? So I'm gonna add a bit more yellow to these. And then I'm gonna add a bit more orange to the tips. Too much orange. So like the tips are just a little bit of burnt orange, just a tad, okay? Actually, I think that I just used cadmium red instead. It's not orange. There we go, like that. Then you're gonna take that green mixture that you made, or any green mixture that you want. I'm gonna take some more orange over here. Sorry guys, this is very awkward framing for me. Okay, then I'm just gonna create some leaves holding these together, bring it down. And it doesn't have to be perfectly straight. You kind of want it a little jagged. And you're just gonna get the bottom of these, let it bleed into the bottom. Like that. If you really wanted another one there, you could have it. And you can always go in with some darker green right at the base, like that. And there you go, that's just a nice little filler. I'm gonna show you another filler. So this one is gonna be kind of like a dusty blue. So to create that, I have some Payne's Gray and some indigo, like that. It's like a nice dusty blue. And these are going to be kind of more fillers. You're just going to use that tip of your brush and create kind of like a half dome, kind of like the same effect as this one. Just creating like loops. And you do one like this. Grab a bit more indigo at the base there, like that. Grab your green, let it bleed into the bottom of that. Like so. Like that, okay? thicken up that bottom a bit. Now, if it bleeds too much into it and it takes over, which might happen sometimes, especially if you're using a bigger brush, just be mindful of how much water and paint you're putting on. Because if you have a lot of it and you're using a bigger brush, it might bleed into the whole thing. If that happens, you can just mop it up and do it again. Just wet it again and do it. That has happened to me many a time. So just add little leaves if you want. Just some nice little fillers. Like so. And then, you know, you could always do some more like berries. I'll show you a couple more filler ideas. I'm gonna add some more red to this one. Purple, and that Hooker's green dark. Darken it up, more red. You could always do some more like little buds. Or you could do some berries. Just gonna take some of the water off of this just by drying my brush and picking up that water so that I can go back in with darker color. Just add it like that. And then I'm going to take my green, just touch the bottom of those. And for these berries, you can add a little landing kind of like that. For these little buds, kind of the same as these. You can add little leaves. If it's easier to do this part with a smaller brush, I definitely suggest you do that. Okay, and I always love adding a bit of darkness to the stems and the bottoms of the leaves. It just adds a bit more depth when it's wet. So there you go. There's some more fillers. And then last but not least, I'm just going to show you some leaves to do. So we're going to do kind of some eucalyptus leaves. So to get this color, this is such an awkward angle. I use Hooker's Green Dark, or if you have that intense green or Viridian, you can use that too. Like that. And then dioxazine purple. Okay, that was a lot of purple. Hold on. And then just green like this, and it kind of creates a nice dark hunter green. So hold on, before we do the eucalyptus, I'm just going to show you some more leaves. So you're just going to do a nice light line with the tip of your brush. If you want to use a smaller one, you can. And then you just, to do longer, thicker leaves, you're just leaving it down on the belly of the brush longer and then pulling it out. If that makes sense. Okay, you just, because like those shorter leaves, you just go down and up, right? And it makes a shorter leaf. But to get a nice long leaf, just leave the belly of the brush down longer and flick it up to the side if you want. Let's just pretend this one's a long one. I really like this color. Okay, so you can do some nice long leaves like that. And again, I like going back in with some darkness at the base. Just adds a little something. And then for eucalyptus, that's kind of like a form of eucalyptus. The dollar eucalyptus. Okay, so you're gonna create your stem. And what I did was create a really nice light wash of this, and you get more of like a sagey kind of green. Okay. And that's just using a light wash of that mix of the dioxazine purple and Hooker's Green Dark. You're just gonna create kind of these round leaves. Okay. And again, you can go back in with that darker color towards the base. You can flatten some out if you like. Like so. Okay, so then you have some of those rounded eucalyptus leaves. And then there's always, you know, just random smaller sprouts of leaves where you just do a thin line and then just use the shape of your brush to make those leaves. It's heavy pressure, light pressure, right? Or sorry, light pressure, heavy pressure, light pressure. And you can get those nice small leaves. And I always find too, with a nice fall bouquet, you can always add in some brown, you know, sprigs of things. So a nice, maybe I'm gonna use some yellow ochre and some burnt umber. So you just do a nice line and then just little dots. Oops. I really should have planned out the direction I was painting so I wasn't putting my hand in all of these. Like that, okay? And so now it's your turn to practice these and then put it in a bouquet.
Thank you guys so much for watching my video. I really hope you liked it and I hope you learned something. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and follow me on Instagram for more. Say bye.